This is not the official mix for this song, but this is a song that I found the multitracks for on the Cambridge Library, and yeah, it's called Collide by Moni Blue. So I'm going to show you guys the breakdown for this. This is going to be the last time I revamp the Let's Mix format, if you will. You're going to get the fully unedited version, which is going to be a really long video, really only for people who are curious as to how I kind of come to these decisions in real time. And then there's going to be a more compact one like this one, where I break down every decision that I made in the mix. But yeah, let's just listen to the second chorus into the bridge, and then we'll go through everything. So yeah, that's the gist. Really cool song, really spacey, lots of dreamy elements and stuff like that. But let's just start with the drums, I guess. I'm gonna mute everything else for now. So just like the last Moni Blue song I mixed, which are also those drums are not those drums. Those tracks are on the Multitrack Library. These seem to be either programmed with a really natural sounding VST, or they were tracked separately, because like the hi-hat is very isolated. There's two sets of overheads, one for cymbals, one for shells, and then the rooms, which have everything in them. So that's partially why I think it might be a VST, because the rooms have everything in them, but then the overheads might have been bounced separately, and also the toms are completely isolated. So that being said, let's just see what I did here. There's not really a whole lot that I did other than get some good levels and do a very subtle compression on a few things. I'm going to turn all this stuff off real quick so that we can just hear what it sounds like dry. Yeah, it's everything. Let's mute that aux percussion real quick. And yeah, so for the kick and the snare, the kick has this pretty drastic 500 cut because I thought it was a little boxy. And then they both have an 1176 on them. The top one is the kick, the bottom one is the snare. Just check out how little compression I'm actually doing. It's mainly for the box tone that each of these compressors has. It's really nice transformer saturation, just trying to give it a little bit more life and even out those dynamics just a tiny bit. I don't want to get rid of them per se, but a little bit more consistent never hurt anybody. So if we turn them off and turn them back on, it sounds like this. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the kick and the snare. And as far as the toms go, I didn't actually process them. And listening back to this, I might have wanted to gate them a little bit, just because some of these tails are really long and they kind of clash with the bass at some points, but it's fine. It's not the official mix. This was just for my own practice. As far as overheads are concerned, I didn't process them at all. I just set them at a level that I liked. Sometimes I will compress overheads so that I just catch the snare and nothing else. Everything else is like untouched by said compression. But in this case, I didn't actually do that, and you'll hear how much depth the overheads add when I put them in and take them back out. It's also adding quite a bit of snare, so maybe I could have compressed it, but at the same time, I like how much it smacks, and it cuts through the mix nicely. And then we have these room mics. They sound pretty good. Now you'll notice I have 2 layers of room mics, and I duplicated them. Tried this little trick out where you gate both of them, and each one is opened up via sidechain input by the kick and the snare. So this one on the left is opened up by the kick, and this one on the right is opened by the snare, and then you send each of them to a reverb, and you get something like this. Now, if you turn off these reverbs, sounds kind of weird. Sounds like a gated 80s snare, and maybe that's what you're looking for, but I thought it was like too much bleed with the rooms playing constantly, so this is a fun little thing that you can do to get that depth on like the most impactful points of the drums without having all of the room noise all the time. It may not be the best decision, but for your song, but it is a thing that exists. And I guess you could take it a step further and make one for the toms as well. But yeah, so that's most of the drum processing. Then what I also did was sent the shells, the kick, the snare, and the toms to a parallel compressor, but it's funny because I didn't actually compress anything, which I'm not entirely sure why I didn't do that, but anyway, this is what it sounds like without and with that parallel compression. It's really kind of just bringing it a little bit further forward. It's honestly unnoticeable, partially probably because I didn't compress anything. I don't know why I went through all of this to set it up and then just didn't adjust the threshold, but it's fine. I like how it sounds, and I'm going to leave it. Then on the drum bus itself, there's a tape machine for some harmonics and a little gentle squeeze. Nothing crazy. And this sounds like this before and after. Just giving it some more life. I tend to, when I mix, I do a lot of really, really small things over time to give us like a nice grand result. Just chip it away at it slowly, kind of like a sculpture. And then I used Orion as well, but just for its targeted harmonics and the tonal shaping that it does. I didn't compress anything. There's a little bit of lift, but yeah, this just gives the drums more weight. So we can listen to that. Yeah, and that's the drum tones. Sounds pretty good, I think. I like to think. We can add the bass in now. Here's the bass. So there's an EQ and a distressor. Those are adding this. A little bit of mid-range boost to give some more attack to it, and also clean up a little bit of like some woofiness that I wasn't loving. It was kind of taking away from the definition. And then the distressor's hardly compressing at all, but it is tapping some of these peaks. This is quite a dynamic bass arrangement, which is great, but just want to tighten it up a little bit. Cool. And And then Decapitator, this is adding a lot of grit. Not a lot, just some grit. And then last but not least, actually not last but not least, it is the next thing is Track Spacer. This sidechain input is being fed from the kick. So what this does is it ducks whatever you have it inserted on in response to that sidechain input in the frequency range that I tell it to do it. And I have it at below 188 hertz. You can do this with Soothe as well, but I don't love Soothe for all uses all the time. And this is also like 1/10 the price of Soothe. So I have both, and I bought Soothe first, but then I got put onto this by someone else, and I like it a lot. So yeah, this is the difference. When you listen to this, listen to how the kick and bass relationship changes. When the track spacer is off, the kick kind of like hides behind it a little bit. And then when you turn it on, it just lets it cut through a little bit more. You may ask yourself, why didn't I just turn the bass down? And it's because when the kick is not playing, I like where the bass is, but I just want it to get out of the way a little bit when the kick hits for maximum impact. So here we go. Yeah, it just helps the kick maintain its place in the mix. And we have this Abbey Road tape slap in parallel. This is kind of widening the bass a little bit and also adding some more harmonics to the whole thing. So that sounds like this. Yeah, really helps make it feel bigger. And then last but not least, we have a chorus, which is also helping with the width thing and giving it some movement. So that sounds like this. Yeah, it's really nice. Okay, so that's the drums and the bass. I'm going to mute those for now and then go through the music and then bring it all back in a second because there's quite a bit of stuff happening. Let's start with the guitars by themselves. So there's a whole bunch of guitar layers here, notably in the bridge, but let's start with the verse stuff just because it is pretty straightforward. If you notice, this guitar is panned to the left, but its reverb comes out on the right. And then this guitar is panned to the right, but its reverb comes out on the left. So that helps each of these dry signals maintain its articulation, but still gives it some depth and gives the reverbs their own chance to be what they are. And they're all going to the same reverb, and that is a spring reverb on the Magma Springs on the Motor City preset. Really cool. And that same general philosophy repeats for all of these guitars. So like this one. These guys. Right. And yeah, the only other things I did to any of these guitars was this one in the bridge, I compressed it a little bit and panned it automatically left to right. And also some of these bridge guitars are sent to a second reverb, which I will play that in a second, but here's what the panning sounds like. And that third reverb is this thing. Kind of noisy, but really helps with like how spacey and honestly kind of sounds like the ocean, like you're drowning a little bit. Yeah, the lossy reverb. Really cool. And then let's see what else is going on with the guitars. There's this one, this acoustic. Gets a little tiny bit of compression as well. And then it also has a twin that's electric. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened with the guitars. I high-passed all of them. I high-passed their group a little bit so that they're not fighting the bass. But other than that, it's just volume levels and good reverb choices. To be fair, these guitars sound really good as is, so they didn't need anything other than some ambiance, and that's all they did. All right, now for the E piano. So this on its direct inserts is getting a tiny bit of drive from the saturation part of the channel strip or the preamp, and then I compressed it a very tiny amount with the Fairchild. I do like Fairchild on keys quite a bit, but I don't use it because people say to use it. I use it because I put it on there and I listen to it and I decide whether or not it's actually helping or not. In this case, it's really just tapping it right here. And if there's one thing you'll notice from this whole mix is that I'm try to be very sparing with compression when I can, unless it's like an artistic choice where you want to crush something, but this is not a case where I want that. I want it to be a very dynamic mix. And then there's this chorus send, which is where this thing comes to life. It spreads it out and adds some motion and movement. Yeah, that's the piano. Now we have all these synths, which are really, really cool. Start with this one in the bridge. So these are it's getting a micro shift, which is it spreads it way out. And then I send it to this excitement thing, which is a Leslie cabinet plug-in. And that sounds like this. It just further spreads it out a little bit more and adds some movement, because if you're not aware, the Leslie cabinet, it rotates. The horn and the sub part of it rotates, so that's a really fun way to get some interesting depth into a element of your mix. Then we have this little lead part. All I did was micro shift it, spread it out quite a bit. And then we have this. That's also going to the Leslie, and then a parallel micro shift. Part of the reason I did it in parallel is because I didn't want it to be like super, what's the word? Saturated in that effect, I guess. When you do it in parallel, it's a little bit more gentle, but it still helps push it wide and add some high-end texture. But that one's a very subtle change. And then there's this layer. Really good stuff. And then this layer. And all of the synths are going to a reverb as well. And that's all the music. So what we have so far is this. Really just trying to like curate that atmosphere, help it pop out as much as possible. Okay, let's hit the vocals. Also, I should mention that whenever I am mixing and doing all this stuff in real time, I listen to everything in context. I don't solo everything like I'm showing you guys here, but figured it might help you guys hear things better because they're so subtle. But yeah, anyway, here's the lead vocal with nothing on it.
Baby, who I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, who it's crazy how me.
This is an excellent starting point for a vocal. Like, it doesn't need a whole lot, so I just wanted to take what we had and enhance it, I guess. So this EQ is a high pass and a very subtle mid-range boost. You'll see there's a lot of rumble down here.
Baby, who I'm falling right into.
So shave that off and then help with the mid-range.
Baby, who I'm falling right into all of you, and baby.
So that's that. And then there's a saturator on it, the tape setting from the nectar saturation. That sounds like this.
Baby, who I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, who it's crazy how.
Just adds some harmonic content and warms it up a little bit. And then we have a Pultec for some articulation and that pop shimmer, if you will.
Baby, who I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, who it's crazy how me.
Just a slight 2 dB boost at 12K. I use the Pultec to add high end to almost everything because it's very smooth sounding and it doesn't get like painful quickly or harsh or whatever you want to call it. And I'm pretty consistently using this for that specific job. And then in LE2A, this is barely compressing at all, and it's also just for like the harmonics that this compressor provides.
Baby, who I'm falling right into all of you.
Very subtle stuff, but each little chip away at it just adds up to a really great final product. So, first reverb.
Baby, who I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, who it's crazy how.
It's the Lexicon, a very classic vocal reverb. Then we have this delay, which is automated to only play on the word collide and in the bridge. And I'm actually very proud of this effect.
Collide. Come on, take.
So here's how I made this. You got an echo boy right here, not snap to the grid. Just I used the time setting and just played with it till it fit what I heard in my head, basically. And that sounds like this.
Collide.
But that kind of stays too much of a focal point. I wanted it to wash out quite a bit. And here's how I got to that point. We added a space rider afterwards. This also has a delay built into it, but I didn't use it for that because I already had the delay from the Echo Boy. What I'm using it for is the reverb and the chorus because I like how this space setting sounds a lot. It's a great reverb, and it also rides the signal into the plugin if you click auto. So that sounds like this.
Collide.
And then the lossy is really where the magic happens. This is what degrades it and pushes it even further out and really washes it out.
Collide.
It's a super sick plugin. It's like $79. If you were to buy this in guitar pedal form, it would run you like $400. So if you're mixing a whole lot and you don't have a means to like reamp line level signals, that's the move. We have this slap, which is not actually a slap. It's just on my slap preset send. It's another Echo Boy. And this delay automates throughout the pre-chorus into the chorus. And it sounds like this.
Falling right into all of you, and baby, who? It's crazy how me and you collide.
It's also automated to stop sending before the word collide so that the wash can take over on that point. And we have a modulation send, which is not a modulation send. It's just on that preset send that I have because I wanted to have a whole bunch of evolving effects throughout this mix. And this is kind of like the other one, except it doesn't have the space rider in between. And it's only on the word to and the ooh and the to and you in the chorus.
Baby, who? I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, who? It's crazy how me and you collide.
So yeah, as you guys can tell, I really like Lossy. It's freaking awesome. And then an excitement send, which is, what is it? Oh, it's a parallel compressor. I have not recently been using a lot of parallel compression, but I realized I could kind of, as you can see, it's automated throughout the song to be at its max in the chorus. And this just kind of helps bring the vocal forward in the biggest parts of the song. So it sounds like this.
Falling right into all of you, and baby, who? It's crazy how me and you collide.
It's great. And then there's a width send, which is just a micro shift, I'm pretty sure. Very subtle.
Falling right into all of you, and baby, who? It's crazy how me and you.
Kind of the top end of it gets spread out and it adds a little bit of texture. And that's about it. And so that's the lead vocal. Now you'll notice on the doubles and all the background vocals, I just copied the lead vocal send down or a lead vocal chain down and then adjusted it depending on the levels of that track. The reason for that is because it's the same voice the whole time and it's all the same mic and everything like that. So I liked how that sounded on the lead, so I just reused it on the background vocals. The doubles are sent to a different reverb, which sounds like this.
Ooh, I'm falling right into all of you, and
It's really short, but that's kind of the point because I wanted the lead vocal to shine quite a bit with the effects and just to give these a little bit of extra depth. And they're panned kind of tightly, but that's because I wanted them to just reinforce the lead vocal in the chorus, which sounds like this.
baby, who? I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, who? It's crazy how me and you collide. Come on, take my.
Yeah, so that's that. And then we have background vocals, which are going to another delay, another reverb, which is another neoverb, but it's a lot bigger and longer as far as like the decay is concerned.
Ooh.
They're also going to this delay, which is a space rider, not synced to the grid, ping-ponged, hitting a little bit of chorus and reverb as well on it. But yeah, here's all the background vocals without the lead.
Falling right in all of you. Crazy how me and.
Also, this background vocal in the bridge gets automated on its panning.
Maybe I'm your greatest. lesson sent from above. Maybe I'm both, but all I know is that I'm yours.
And all the vocals sound like this.
Ooh, I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, who? It's crazy how me and you collide. Crazy.
The other thing you'll notice is that all these, not all of them, but a lot of these effects are automated throughout the song to push and pull a little bit more. And actually, speaking of automation, that's a good segue into the automation on the whole song. So there's, in the drums, you'll see like each of these little tiny bumps are emphasizing fills. And then in the bridge, I'm emphasizing the kicks. And then in the pre-chorus, there's a little bit of a build. The bass has automation throughout. Most of the guitars do, not all of them. Automation, 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 automation. All this great stuff. Because like back in the day, when you would mix on an analog console, couldn't do this, so you'd have to push and pull the faders manually. And I would love to do that, but I don't have a control surface right now, so I can't do that. So I'm trying to compensate by just writing my own inside of Pro Tools with my mouse and keyboard. But yeah, all that automation is really what pushes and pulls the song and makes it just come alive. So I can, let's listen to the bridge with no automation.
Maybe I'm your great love. Maybe I'm just a lesson sent from above. Maybe I'm both, but all I know is that I'm yours. Baby, ooh, I'm falling right into.
And then with the automation.
Maybe I'm your great love. Maybe I'm just a lesson sent from above. Maybe I'm both, but all I know is that I'm yours. Baby, ooh.
Very subtle stuff, but it just like everything kind of comes up and back and pushes and pulls quite a bit more. And that's where the life comes back into it. We're going to try giving it a listen with and without automation in the chorus.
Baby, ooh, I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, ooh, it's crazy how me and you collide.
Yeah, it's really the last final step that separates good mixes from great mixes, as far as I'm concerned. And then this is the actual last thing that I did to the whole song, other than the mix bus, which we'll go over in a second. But all verb. This is where I don't always use this, but on really dreamy sounding songs like this, it's nice to send all your melodic elements to a reverb that is really low in the mix, but really long and filtered quite a bit. It kind of turns into a pad and just acts as like a layer of cohesion / glue, whatever you want to call it. You probably won't hear this, but you will feel it if you close your eyes while you listen.
Falling right into all of you, and baby, ooh, it's crazy how me and you collide. Come on, take my hand, lead me to your heart. Let me touch your soul, let it come undone. All things have an end when I'm made of stone, when I'm meant to lie.
So like back in the day when bands would just record in the same room, just record everything in the same room, you wouldn't really need to like make this up because you would just have the room sound gelling everything together, which is why a lot of old records have so much like such a cohesive sound and like a really nice ambiance across the board. So I tend to try and fake that sometimes with something like this. Another way you could do it is maybe instead of using a traditional reverb, you could use like a room emulator, like the Sound City Studios plugin from UA. This might be really interesting. use it in reverb mode, and then just, you might want to use like ensemble, or I don't know. It depends. But anyway, that's just kind of the thought process behind that. And then on the mix bus, we have nothing right now, but so far you guys have been listening to this whole mix with the mix bus in, which is okay. But I add this last after I do all that stuff. So we have mix head, which is a digital tape saturation thing that sounds awesome.
I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, ooh, it's crazy how me and you.
Very subtle lift. It's also adding a very tiny bit of like high-end lift to the whole thing. And that's it. And then ozone, which you guys, if you've watched any of my videos before, you know this is the last part of my mix bus usually. It can be really weird at first, and getting used to it might be discouraging, but if you just let it do a very subtle things in each module, you get a lot of really cool stuff out of it. So let's go through each of these one at a time. I'm not going to go super in depth with these because I have explained it before, but it helps quite a bit. So we have this EQ, which normally I have it at 26%, but normally when you first open Ozone and do the analyzation thing, it will have it set at 100%. But I did not like that because it was too much, so I pulled it way back. And this is a before and after that EQ.
I'm falling right into all of you, and baby, ooh, it's crazy how me and you collide.
Then we have impact, which is multiband compression, upwards and downwards. And I have it sync to the grid, the release time sync to the grid. So if I hit delta, it's going to get really quiet, but you're going to hear the groove that it accentuates.
Ooh, it's crazy how me and you collide. Maybe I'm your great love. Maybe I'm just a less.
This is not very noticeable like audibly, but it does make it feel a lot more like danceable. So we'll go back through the second verse with this real quick.
Let me touch your soul, let it calm my dime. All things have an end when I'm made of stone, when I'm meant to lie.
It's so impactful. See what I did there? It's fucking stupid. All right, anyway. Imager, multiband imager. It's just a stereo spreader, but here's before and after.
Let me touch your soul, let it calm my dime. All things have an end when I'm made of stone, when I'm meant to lie. Let's paint each other with needle and pretend like it was nothing.
Just makes it bigger. And then clarity is like a reactive EQ that I always use in very small amounts. This is just going to even out your mid-range and upper and like highs. Not even them out, but just help what needs to shine through at any given time.
Let's paint each other with needle and pretend like it was nothing. Let's say our love is forever and then let it melt like butter. Me huele pensar, me cuesta dormir. This all feels too far.
And then stabilizer is really similar to clarity, except it's the whole frequency spectrum, and it will shape it based on the genre that you tell it to go by. This says reggae because when I did the original thing, reggae was the sonic profile that actually fit this mix the best. Even though this is like indie pop, you don't necessarily want to stick to what the genre is telling you inside of Ozone. You just want to pick which one sounds the best for your mix.
Let's paint each other with needle and pretend like it was nothing. Let's say our love is forever and then let it melt like butter. Me huele pensar, me cuesta dormir.
And then last but not least, we have the Ozone Maximizer. This is where all the loudness comes in, and you kind of just want to mess with these algorithms. Just try different ones out to see which one fits your song the best. For this one, I liked IRC2. To me, out of all those algorithms I just played, IRC2 feels like the warmest, not the warmest, just the most, like the dreamiest, really, which is what I was looking for this whole entire vibe. And then a limiter to finish things off. The mode, I'll usually start on modern or tube, but really I just flip through all of them, see which one sounds the best. So here's some examples of that.
Let's paint each other with needle and pretend like it was nothing. Let's say our love is forever and then let it melt like butter. Me duele pensar, me cuesta dormir. This all feels too fast.
To me, analog has the best balance between what the tube and the modern sound like. Like modern doesn't have enough low end and it's a little too crispy, and tube is a little too warm / like low mid heavy, but analog gives you best of both worlds there. So yeah, that's this whole mix. Again, this is not the official mix of this song. If you want to give this song a stab on your own, you can get the tracks from the Cambridge Multitrack website. I'll leave a link to that in the description. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And if you did, please like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.